After my divorce, I became homeless. My ex-husband told me, "No one will ever love a broke woman like you." He was wrong, but I didn't know that then. I'm glad you're here, because this is the story of how I went from sleeping behind dumpsters to hearing a stranger say the words that changed my life forever. His first sentence to me was something I'll never forget. "Excuse me, are you Michelle Thompson?" Back then, I didn't even know how to respond. My hair was greasy, my clothes smelled like old bread, and I hadn't seen my reflection in a mirror in months. Why would anyone, let alone a man in a suit, know my name? But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where everything truly began. The night my marriage of 9 years ended without warning. My name is Michelle Thompson. I was 33 when my husband, Daniel, left me. We had a small but warm life in Dallas, 2-bedroom apartment, second-hand couch, cheap but cozy Friday night dinners. I cooked, he worked. I believed love meant loyalty and sacrifice. I believed marriage was forever. Looking back, I realize I lived more in hope than in reality. He used to kiss my forehead and say, "You're all I need, Michelle." But somehow those words started to sound like routine, not love. We were struggling financially after he lost his job. I picked up extra shifts at a diner, long nights washing dishes, fingers pruned and cracked from soap. I thought it was temporary. I thought we were a team. Then he started coming home late. "What?" he said. "Friends," he said. But his cologne lasted longer than his explanations. One night, at 1:14 a.m., while I was waiting with cold food on the table and a heart trying not to break, he walked in smiling, texting someone, and didn't even meet my eyes. That was the first crack. Before I go further, tell me in the comments where in the world you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. And if stories like this stay with you, please like and subscribe. It really helps me continue sharing the truths I've carried for years. Life before the storm felt normal enough. Weekends at the farmer's market. Laundry tumbling in the dryer like a soft soundtrack to life. I wore slippers and sang while cooking. He used to laugh when I burned the toast. Small, ordinary happiness. But he stopped laughing. He stopped looking at me. One day, I found an unfamiliar lipstick stain on his white shirt. Cherry red. I never wore red. He said it was from a customer. She bumped into me by accident. I nodded, pretending to believe him. But inside, something twisted. Still, I held on. I loved him more than I loved myself. And that was my mistake. The real breaking point came a month later. I was serving a table at the diner when Daniel walked in, holding another woman's hand. She was tall, polished, beautiful in a high-maintenance way. My heart stopped. He looked at me like I was a stranger taking his order. She laughed softly, like she knew she won. Later that night, he packed his bags. No fight, no apology, just one cold sentence. "You're dead weight, Michelle." I want out. I begged. Yes, I begged. Tears blurred everything. He said I could keep some clothes, but the apartment was his name on the lease. 2 days later, he changed the locks. And there I was, standing at 3 a.m. outside the building I once called home, holding a trash bag of clothes, shaking from more heartbreak than cold. I remember whispering to myself, how did my life end up here? What did I do to deserve this? With nowhere to go, I slept behind a bakery, breathing in the smell of stale bread and regret. I didn't know it yet, but my life was about to twist in a way no one could predict. Because the next person who approached me, a man in a clean suit, would say my name like it mattered. And what he told me next would shatter everything I believed about my past. That wasn't the worst part. The condition attached to $47 million was, before everything flipped upside down, I believed strength meant staying silent. I thought love meant tolerance, even when it hurt. But after Daniel kicked me out, silence became my only companion. I spent the first week wandering Dallas streets with my trash bag of clothes. My feet blistered, my pride shattered. I used to avoid eye contact with homeless people. Now I was one of them. It's strange how life humbles you when you least expect it. I'd sit outside the diner on my old break spot, watching waitresses with tired eyes rush around, the same way I once did. I wanted to ask for my job back, but shame kept my throat locked. People passed by, busy with lives, bills, routines, unaware that I was unraveling quietly just inches away. Nights were the hardest. Cold concrete, distant traffic, the sound of my own thoughts too loud to escape. Sometimes I'd whisper just to hear a voice. I'm still here, right? Another night, while searching dumpsters for leftover bread, I found a half-eaten sandwich. I remember crying, not because I was hungry, but because I had fallen so far. Daniel's voice echoed in my head, "No one will ever love a broke woman like you." I used to think those words defined me. I was wrong, but I didn't know yet. One evening, after a long day of walking aimlessly, I found shelter behind a luxury hotel. Warm air from the ventilation system blew out, just enough to keep me from freezing. I curled up there every night like a stray cat no one wanted to feed. I kept replaying memories, the good ones, the lies hidden inside them. How he once held me when my mother died. How he promised to build a life worth growing old in. How he used to say, "Home is wherever you are." Funny how people rewrite vows when life tests them. A week turned into a month. My clothes smelled like rain and trash. My hair turned greasy and tangled. My reflection became a stranger I didn't want to look at. But one detail still haunts me. The woman Daniel left with. She drove a black Mercedes. One evening, I saw them again, laughing inside a restaurant I used to pass by. She touched his hand across the table. He smiled in a way he hadn't with me for years. Something inside me broke. Not anger, acceptance. A quiet, painful understanding. I wasn't enough for him. At least, that's what I believed. One afternoon, a rainstorm drenched the city. I stood under a tiny bus stop roof, watching water flood the street, wishing life washed pain away that easily. An elderly lady nearby offered me her umbrella. I thanked her, but I think she could see the truth behind my forced smile. Her gentle voice carried a message I didn't understand then. She said, "Sometimes God breaks you right before he hands you something greater." I nodded politely, unaware how literal those words would become. That same night, while rummaging behind a bakery for discarded pastries, I found something different instead. A business card, clean, untorn, like it hadn't been there long. Law offices of Harrison and Cole, New York, NY. Why would a law firm card end up behind a bakery dumpster in Dallas? I didn't think much of it, just slipped it into my pocket as if keeping it meant keeping hope. I didn't know it then, but that card was my first breadcrumb toward the truth. Toward money I never imagined. Toward a name I didn't recognize, yet. Because 3 days later, as I sat near a convenience store warming my hands on a coffee cup someone left behind, a black sedan pulled up. A man stepped out, tailored suit, polished shoes, rain still clinging to his coat. He scanned the area like he was looking for someone specific. Then his eyes landed on me. He walked toward me, slow, careful, not disgusted, not afraid. Just sure. "Excuse me," he said, voice low and steady. "Are you Michelle Thompson?" My heart stopped. How did he know my name? And why did he sound like finding me mattered? Something was coming. I could feel it. But I wasn't ready for what he'd say next. When he spoke my name, I felt every muscle in my body tense, like the world paused just long enough for me to remember I used to matter. No one had said Michelle with gentleness in months. Most people avoided looking at me altogether. But this man, tidy haircut, leather briefcase, scent of expensive cologne, looked right into my eyes like I was someone worth finding. "I'm Michelle," I answered quietly, unsure whether to be ashamed or defensive. He exhaled, relieved, like locating me was a mission finally complete. "My name is Andrew Collins," he said, pulling off his damp gloves. "I've been trying to find you for weeks. Could we talk somewhere warmer?" I almost laughed. Warmer? I had spent nights against cold brick buildings and mornings begging for leftover coffee heat through a paper cup. Warmth felt like a luxury I didn't deserve. I hesitated. Trust was a currency I no longer spent easily. Andrew noticed. "I understand this is unexpected," he said softly, "but I promise this is good news." Good news? Men in suits don't search alleyways to deliver good news to homeless women. My brain screamed scam, death. Maybe Daniel sent him something dark. But curiosity won. It always does when you have nothing left to lose. He guided me toward the hotel I slept behind. Ironic, right? I had lived in its shadow for weeks. Now I was walking through its glass doors like a guest. People stared. Whispers. Wrinkled noses. My reflection in the lobby mirror, soaked hoodie, dirt-streaked cheeks, tangled hair, made me want to disappear. I kept my arms wrapped around myself like I could shrink into fabric. Andrew noticed that too. "You're safe," he said quietly. "Please trust me." He ordered us 2 coffees. I wrapped my hands around the cup like it was life itself. Warmth spread through my fingers, up my arms, into a place I thought had gone numb forever. Then he opened his briefcase. Inside was a stack of documents sealed with a gold emblem. My stomach twisted. Legal papers always meant trouble in movies and real life. He slid the top paper toward me. "Last will and testament, Samuel Thompson." Thompson. My last name. I blinked. "Do you know a Samuel?" he asked. I shook my head. "No, I've never met anyone by that name." He nodded slowly, as if he expected that answer. "Samuel was your great-uncle. Lived in New York. He passed away 3 months ago." Great-uncle? My family tree ended early. My parents died young, and I never heard about extended relatives. The only Thompson I'd ever known was my father, and even he spoke of family like they were ghosts. Andrew continued. "Samuel left behind a sizable estate. A penthouse on the Upper East Side, a yacht docked in Manhattan, and a financial portfolio currently valued at." He paused. I leaned forward without realizing. $4 to $7 million. The room spun. Coffee nearly slipped from my hands. 47 million. I felt like someone punched air from my lungs. My throat tightened. My chest fluttered like a bird trapped inside. This had to be a mistake. A joke. A cruel prank life was playing on a woman who slept near dumpsters. "I think you have the wrong Michelle," I whispered. Andrew shook his head. "We confirmed DNA. You're the rightful heir." Rightful heir. Words I never imagined would belong to me. I laughed, half shock, half disbelief. A homeless woman being told she owns a luxury penthouse? A yacht? Millions? Life doesn't work like that. But then he said something even stranger, something that opened the first real crack of suspicion rather than hope. "There is just one condition," he added carefully. My heart stilled. Of course there was. Nothing comes free. Not love, not loyalty, not fortune. "What condition?" I asked, barely breathing. He looked at me with eyes that carried both weight and warning. "You must return to New York in person to claim the inheritance." And he paused, voice dropping. "You are required to fulfill a request Samuel left specifically for you." A request? For someone he'd never met? Confusion washed through me. Why would a dead man I don't remember leave me $47 million? But only if I do something for him. What could he possibly want? Andrew closed the folder gently, as if sealing fate itself. "He wrote you a letter," he said, "and what's inside it will change everything." But he didn't hand it to me. Not yet. Because what he needed to tell me first was the part that would hurt the most. Andrew placed the sealed envelope on the table between us. Cream paper. Gold wax stamp. My last name pressed into it like a mark of destiny I never asked for. My hand shook. I stared at it like it was dangerous, because promises wrapped in wealth often come wrapped in pain too. Before I could touch it, Andrew said something that stopped me mid-reach. "There's more you should know before you open that." His tone changed, softer, heavier. My chest tightened. "You were never supposed to grow up the way you did, Michelle." I frowned. "What does that mean?" He exhaled, the kind of breath people release when they are about to drop a truth they wish they didn't have to. "Your father wasn't the only child," he began. "Samuel was his older brother. They were close, inseparable, even. But something happened years before you were born. A fight, a betrayal, and your father cut all ties with the family." I felt a strange ache, like my father, long gone, was suddenly in the room again. Betrayal? My father. The man who taught me to ride a bike with paint-stained hands and soft words. The man who cried quietly at nights after my mother passed away. Andrew continued, Samuel spent decades searching for your father. When he learned your parents had passed, he looked for you. He never stopped. My throat burned. All those years I felt alone. Maybe I wasn't. Why didn't anyone tell me? I asked, voice trembling. Andrew shook his head slowly. Your father wanted distance. He refused Samuel's help. He walked away from the family fortune and from Samuel's life. The words felt heavy, like discovering a room in your childhood home you never knew existed. A room filled with everything you once prayed for. Warmth, help, family. Instead, I got eviction papers, cold pavement, and a man who said I was worthless. And now a dead relative was offering me $47 million. Why me? Why now? Andrew pushed the envelope closer. He wrote this for you. His final words. My fingers hovered, then finally broke the seal. The paper inside was thick, expensive, like it came from a world I never lived in. I unfolded it slowly. Samuel's handwriting was elegant, curling like old ink in history books. Michelle, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. I've waited my whole life to meet you. I searched for you not to give you money, but because I owe you a truth your father died protecting. Take it. Protect it. And please, do what he couldn't. Samuel Thompson. My heart pounded like a drum inside my ribs. Do what he couldn't? Protect what? From who? What's in the safe? I asked Andrew. He hesitated. We don't know. Samuel kept that secret locked away his entire life. But whatever it is, it matters. Enough for him to tie a multi-million-dollar inheritance to it. I swallowed hard. The letter felt like ashes in my hands, heavy with ghosts and unspoken wars. New York. A safe. Something hidden for decades. A father who walked away from wealth. A great-uncle who died searching for me. And a condition I had to fulfill. Andrew leaned forward. You'll have full travel arrangements, accommodation, legal support. All expenses covered. But you must be there within 7 days, or the inheritance passes to charity. 7 days. I was homeless, no ID, no luggage, no future, and now I was supposed to step into penthouses and legal offices. My life flipped so hard I felt seasick. And still, fear crawled up my spine. Because for the first time since Daniel left, I felt hope. Real, trembling hope. But hope is dangerous when you're fragile. Then Andrew added one more detail, a detail that turned hope into shock. You weren't the only one named in the will, he said carefully. I stared. What do you mean? There's another beneficiary, someone who has a right to contest your claim. My gut twisted. Who? His eyes didn't waver. Daniel Lewis Thompson. Daniel, my ex-husband, the man who threw me away. My blood turned cold. Why was his name in my inheritance? Andrew's voice was low. He knows nothing yet, but when he finds out, things will get complicated. Complicated? Try explosive. Because if Daniel learned I was worth $47 million, he would come back, not for love, but for greed. And that wasn't even the worst part. Samuel left instructions involving him. Hearing Daniel's name felt like ice poured down my spine. The man who said I was useless. The man who replaced me like a worn-out coat. Now tied to my inheritance? It felt like the universe was playing a cruel joke, but instead of running, something inside me shifted. A quiet spark. A new voice I hadn't heard in a long time. No more begging. No more crying. Now I stand up. I asked Andrew, why is Daniel named? My voice shook, but not from weakness, from awakening. Andrew slid another document across the table, this one thinner, stamped with my great-uncle's attorney's signature. Samuel added a clause 2 years ago, he explained. If both you and Daniel appear in New York, you will receive priority as heir, but only if you complete the task before he does. Task. I repeated. Yes, retrieve what's inside the safe. But the final condition, he paused, choosing words like defusing a bomb. You must confront Daniel face to face. My breath stalled. Face him, the man who called me worthless, the man who left me for a woman in a Mercedes? My stomach twisted, but my heart suddenly felt like steel warming. What happens if I refuse? I asked. Andrew looked almost sorry. Then everything transposed to Daniel. Daniel, millionaire overnight. Me, still homeless. No, not after everything I crawled through to survive. For the first time in months, I felt purpose. A path. A fight that was mine to win. The next morning, Andrew helped me check into a small hotel room. A real bed, soft sheets that didn't smell like rain or garbage. I showered for almost an hour, watching dirt run off my skin and disappear down the drain like the woman I used to be. My reflection in the mirror didn't look wealthy, but she looked alive again. I borrowed clean clothes from the hotel lost and found box. They were simple, but they fit. For the first time since losing everything, I saw myself as more than someone surviving. I was preparing to face the past, preparing to step into a future bigger than anything I imagined. As I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, memories replayed like scratched film reels. Daniel laughing with the other woman. His cold voice, "You're dead weight." Me begging. Him turning away without looking back. I whispered into the dark. I want him to see me win. Not for revenge, though revenge tasted sweet in theory, but for closure. For the version of myself who thought she deserved pain. And yet, beneath the anger was fear. Fear that seeing him again would break me. Fear that wealth wouldn't fix the bruise he left on my soul. But I'm learning something, slowly, painfully. Strength isn't loud. Sometimes it's quiet. A woman packing her courage into a suitcase she doesn't even own yet. Andrew arranged everything quickly. Plane ticket, paperwork for temporary ID verification, emergency funds. By the end of the week, I had a boarding pass in my hand. Michelle Thompson, passenger, not vagrant. I held it like proof that I was stepping out of the version of me Daniel tried to bury. Before we left, Andrew warned me gently. When Daniel finds out, he will come. Money changes people. I corrected him softly. Daniel changed long before money. He nodded, understood. I spent the flight to New York staring at clouds that looked like unopened chapters. My heart was loud in my chest, nervous, excited, grieving, reborn. When the plane landed, the cold city air slapped my cheeks awake. Tall buildings swallowed the sky. People moved fast, as if time itself ran here. Andrew led me through the airport like I belonged, even if I still doubted it. A car waited for us. Black, sleek, nothing like the buses I used to sleep near. Our first stop wasn't the penthouse. It was a lawyer's office, where I signed preliminary documents. Each signature felt like stitching pieces of my identity back together. And then, the moment I will never forget, we arrived at the penthouse Samuel left me. Top floor, marble lobby, a doorman who said my name with respect. Welcome home, Miss Thompson. Home. That word hit so hard my eyes burned. But the real test waited behind the study door, behind a portrait I'd never seen. Inside a safe containing secrets older than me. Andrew placed his hand on the doorknob. Are you ready? I wasn't, but I nodded anyway, because ready or not, I was about to open a piece of my past no one warned me existed. And what I found inside that safe didn't just change my future, it revealed why my father ran. The study smelled like old books and forgotten memories, leather, oak, dust warmed by sunlight. Portraits of people I'd never known lined the walls, ancestors wearing expressions of pride or secrets. I couldn't tell which. But one portrait stood out. A man with stern eyes, gray hair combed back, suit sharp enough to cut. Samuel Thompson, my great-uncle. His gaze felt like he was still guarding something. Andrew nodded toward it. That's the one. My hands trembled as I reached behind the frame. Fingers brushed cold metal, a hidden lever. With a soft click, the portrait swung open like a door, revealing a digital safe built into the wall. Andrew handed me a small envelope. Samuel left the code inside this. I tore it open. 6 digits handwritten. My birthday. A lump formed in my throat. A man I never met knew my birthday. Remembered it. chose it as the key. I entered the code. The safe opened with a slow, heavy sound, like an exhale of secrets trapped for decades. Inside were only two things: a leather-bound journal, a small velvet box. No gold, no cash, no documents. Just that. My heart sank in confusion. Andrew stayed silent, letting me be the one to touch the past. I lifted the journal first. Cracked leather. Pages yellowed. My father's name embossed on the first page. James Thompson. My breath caught. My father's handwriting covered the first entry, uneven, emotional, words pressed deep into the paper like he wrote them with shaking hands. If Michelle ever finds this, forgive me. My eyes blurred. I turned the page. I kept her away from the family to protect her. Samuel thinks I betrayed him, but I had to disappear. I had something they wanted. Wanted? What could a family want so badly? Another line. The box must stay hidden until she's strong enough. The velvet box. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Inside lay a ring. Not just any ring, a diamond so large it caught light like a star. An heirloom piece, worth more than every night I cried on concrete. But beneath it, folded tightly, was a note, smaller, older. I unfolded it carefully. Give this to Daniel. He will know what to do. My stomach dropped. Daniel? Why him? Why leave a message for the man who destroyed me? Andrew stepped closer. What does it say? I hesitated, then handed him the note. His eyes scanned it and widened. This ring was supposed to be your engagement ring. My breath hitched. No, Daniel bought mine, cheap, from a pawn shop. Andrew shook his head. That wasn't the real one. Your father entrusted Samuel with this ring for your future partner, meant for a man worthy of you, not one who discarded you. My heart cracked, not from pain, but revelation. Daniel never deserved me. He never deserved my love. And now he might lose everything he thinks he deserves from me. But the journal had more. Further pages revealed truth like broken glass. My father had stumbled onto something within the family. Financial crime, hidden wealth, deals buried under years of power. He feared Samuel was being manipulated by someone else, someone dangerous. He took the ring and vanished with my mother to protect me. He died protecting a legacy I never knew I had. And now it was in my hands. Mine to finish, mine to guard. Then footsteps echoed from the main hall. Heavy, familiar rhythm. My blood froze. Andrew looked up sharply. You weren't supposed to have visitors yet. The study door opened, and there he stood. Daniel, clean suit, same smug expression, but his eyes, hungry, calculating. He scanned the room, then landed on the safe door behind me. The journal. The ring. Me, standing where he never expected to see me. Well, he smirked. Seems life turned around for you, Michelle. I felt adrenaline flood my veins. The girl behind dumpsters was gone. This woman had an inheritance, a legacy, and answers. I met his gaze without trembling. This isn't yours, Daniel. He stepped closer, voice dripping with entitlement. Everything you are, you owe to me. Not anymore. He reached toward the ring box, and I closed it with a snap. Andrew positioned himself beside me, calm but firm. Daniel laughed once, cold. You think you can keep $47 million from me? My voice came out steady, steel wrapped in grace. I will, and I don't need you to love me anymore. His smirk faded. This was it. Confrontation. Revelation, justice. The power shifted, not to him, to me, and the storm that followed would decide everything. Because Daniel didn't come alone. The moment Daniel's smile died, the room shifted. His charm, once disarming, now looked like a mask slipping off. Something darker stood behind his eyes, the kind of hunger only fortune awakens. He glanced at Andrew, then at me again, jaw tightening. You think this belongs to you? He asked, voice lower now. Michelle, look at you. You were homeless. You had nothing. I took a slow breath, remembering concrete nights, rain-soaked mornings, bread from dumpsters. Yes, I had nothing. But losing everything teaches you what matters. I rebuilt myself, I said quietly. Not for you. For me. Andrew stepped forward, tone cool and legal. Mr. Thompson, you were named only as a secondary beneficiary. Michelle is primary heir as long as she fulfills the condition. Daniel scoffed. And what condition is that? Andrew looked at me, letting me speak for myself. I have to claim what my father left and face you. Silence. Heavy. Charged. Final. Daniel's expression faltered, confusion flickering through his arrogance. Face me? Why me? Because my father left the ring, not for Daniel to wear, but for Daniel to see, to understand, to close a door he never thought I'd have the power to close. I held the velvet box up between us. This was meant for the man who would stand beside me, not above me, not against me. Daniel's eyes landed on the diamond. Greed pulsed across his face like a reflex. So give it to me, he said, stepping closer. As your ex-husband, I have rights. I almost pitied him. No, I said simply. That one word, soft, calm, final, cut deeper than any scream. He blinked, stunned. For years he decided what I was worth. Tonight I did. Andrew unfolded the final legal sheet, the one Samuel prepared for this moment. Mr. Thompson, Andrew said, voice sharp with lawyer precision, your presence here fulfills the confrontation clause. You have officially been acknowledged as secondary beneficiary. Daniel frowned. Meaning? Andrew turned the page, revealing numbers, signatures, seals. Meaning Michelle inherits everything. You receive nothing. Daniel's shock was real, raw, choking. What? No. This is unfair. She's nothing without me. He stepped forward, but I didn't step back. No, I said, meeting his eyes. I was nothing because of you. But look at me now. His face twisted, anger, disbelief, shame all fighting behind his eyes. You'll regret this, he hissed. Maybe once the old me would. The version that begged him not to leave. The version who cried over lipstick stains. Not anymore. I don't need revenge, I said softly. I just needed to see you one last time to understand. I survived you. Daniel opened his mouth, but no words came. He turned away, shoulders stiff, dignity crumbling with each step as he left the penthouse empty-handed. The door closed. The world exhaled. Silence, heavy, healing, unbelievably light. Later that evening, I sat alone in the study, journal open on my lap. My father's words felt like a hand over mine. Samuel's gift no longer felt like fortune. It felt like closure. The ring sparkled in dim light, not as a reminder of love lost, but love yet to come. Not romantic love, self-love. I walked through the penthouse slowly, touching marble counters, tall windows, bookshelves my ancestors once filled. This wasn't just inheritance, it was identity returned. Andrew joined me, soft smile on his face. You handled him with grace. I nodded. Pain can break you. I'll teach you. He raised a brow. Which did it do for you? I looked out at New York lights, millions of stories flickering like neurons in the city's mind. It taught me to never beg for a place in a life I built someone else's dream in. He smiled, proud. I smiled back, for the first time without guilt. That night, I slept in my new home. Sheets warm, city humming below, journal beside me like a story half finished. I wasn't homeless anymore. I wasn't broken. I was becoming someone stronger than survival, someone worthy of abundance. But as I drifted to sleep, one lingering question stayed like a star outside the window. What if this ring isn't just a symbol, but a key to something bigger? Samuel didn't leave instructions without reason. My father didn't hide truths without purpose. The inheritance was just the beginning. And somewhere in those journal pages, a secret waited. Morning light poured through the penthouse windows, soft, golden, warm in a way sunlight never felt back when I hid behind dumpsters. I woke slowly, not from cold or noise, but from peace. For a moment, I lay still and listened, city traffic humming below, coffee machine clicking in the kitchen, my own breath steady instead of shaking. This wasn't a dream. I was no longer the woman Daniel left on the street. I was Michelle Thompson, heir, survivor, daughter of a man who died protecting me, and the woman who walked back into her own life with her head held high. But the story wasn't just about wealth. It was about healing everything poverty, heartbreak, and loneliness tried to steal from me. I brewed coffee, real coffee, not leftovers. I stood by the window wrapped in a hotel robe, watching the city move like a river of possible futures. My phone, a new one Andrew helped me get, buzzed with messages from lawyers finalizing transfers. It felt surreal. Not long ago, I was digging through trash. Now, companies knew my name. Banks called me. It wasn't money that changed me. It was remembering I deserved better than pain. Later, I sat with the journal again. I read slowly, letting each page resurrect pieces of history. My father's story unfolded, choices, regrets, sacrifices. He wasn't running from family. He was running from me. He kept me away so I wouldn't grow up tangled in a war over wealth, power, legacy. He gave up fortune to protect childhood innocence. And that realization hurt and healed me at the same time. My father didn't fail me. He loved me so fiercely he chose a smaller life over a dangerous throne. I closed the journal with a firm, steady breath. I would honor him, not by clinging to grief, but by living fully. I slipped the ring onto my finger, not as a symbol of marriage, but as a promise to myself. I choose me. I walked to the study, opened the portrait again, replaced the journal gently, and whispered, "Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Samuel." It felt like they heard me. A week later, while meeting Samuel's foundation board, I made my first decision as heir. I signed documents dedicating part of the estate to support shelters for homeless women, women like me who just needed one hand to reach out instead of push down. Because I knew what cold nights felt like. I knew how dignity slips away piece by piece. I knew how one moment of kindness can save a soul. A woman who survives heartbreak and hunger becomes dangerous in the best way. She builds ladders instead of gates. And when I went to bed that night, it wasn't the penthouse or the money that warmed me. It was knowing I turned pain into purpose. People ask what happened to Daniel. Truth is, he tried to come back. Called, texted, claimed he made a mistake. Guilt disguised as love, greed disguised as regret. But I didn't need closure from him anymore. The moment he walked out of the penthouse empty-handed, I was free. Sometimes, closure isn't a conversation. Closure is becoming everything they said you couldn't. I left his messages unanswered. The girl who begged once doesn't beg anymore. So if you're listening to this, wherever you are, I want you to know something. You can lose everything and still rise. You can be thrown away and still return whole. You can sleep in darkness and wake up in gold. Not because someone saved you, but because you chose to stand back up. Life broke me, then rebuilt me. Wealth didn't fix my heart, courage did. And if my story reached you today, even through a screen, maybe it's because you needed to hear this. You are not finished. You are not worthless. You are one decision away from a different life. Did you like my story? Please like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I want to know how far this story of mine travels. Sometimes God lets you lose people, comfort, and pride, not to punish you, but to return you to the life you were meant for, stronger than before.